Hello and welcome to the Great Cosmic Shift. This is your host, Cyrus. And on tonight's video, I want to talk about, let's just say, the one big mistake I used to make in my earlier work, in my books, about how, let's say, reality converges, how reality operates. And if you haven't read books like Understanding Life After Death, The Afterlife and Beyond, that's okay because this is something that crops up again and again everywhere. So we're going to get to that. A few notes. First of all, thank you for watching. It's funny, Google now has a customer service number, so it makes me think that maybe I will be able to finally make some petitions to get my old account back, my old channel's Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. You can of course find the major community on Facebook called Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics, or the Reddit page, which is reddit.r/Afterlife Topics. But the old YouTube channel is still out. Again, it helps if you go on there, let people know I'm not dead, and they can find me here, the Great Cosmic Shift. And in the meantime, I also want to say, well, let's see. I'll take a sip of coffee in case my mouth gets dry. It's good to have some coffee on hand. Yes, the next part of the Emanuel Swedenborg channeling, I'll have that up soon. Sorry that it's been about a week since I've had any videos up. I've actually been very busy on Facebook. I've been doing a lot of channelings, telepathy sessions, just for communities online. There's a group which is, I believe it's the Starseed group that channeling, what is it, like Arcturians, Pegasians, and so forth. And so I've been on there just transcribing my communications, which, of course, the Ashtari, the Anshar, because, well, frankly, I don't know, I have this ability that my soul group, apparently instilled into me, which is an ability to kind of like get direct channels of information just in a clear two-way voice right now. So it's like I can, as many channelers have this ability, including many channelers in my communities, but the way I do it is, I guess I'm just constantly hitting them with questions and journalistic types of approaches to things. Whereas oftentimes this subject goes into the realm of, mediumship and prophecy. And what I've always been is a little bit more of a journalist, and this ended up putting me into a position where I have a lot of, let's say, extrastellar friends. And what I like about this community is that we take the extraterrestrial part and we apply it. And I knew back in the old days when I was studying works of, like, let's say, Stephen Greer and also James Gilliland over at, I believe that's As You Wish Talk Radio. Some of these folks. Now, this is the major intersection, because if we ignore it, like, we can't just focus on spiritism. This is one of the big mistakes. I'll get to this as I continue with the video. I think first I'm going to run the intro, so you can go get up and have a drink or use a bathroom or something, right? And we'll come back to it, and we'll talk about tonight's topic. So hang tight. And welcome back. So tonight's topic is, what is this? I would say, great area of misinformation. I'm not saying that I regret the books or anything like this, because it's been a long process, my whole life, of putting the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle together, right? So looking back, I've had many experiences with mysterious characters in my life. Now, if you had read The Afterlife and Beyond, you will notice that there was a section of the book where I was describing an experience I had with, there's multiple actually. with very interesting beings who it's hard to, shall we say, it's, how it's sometimes difficult to make sense what is in the, let's say, the spirit reality and what is in a manifested physical reality. So, for example, there is a part of the book where I encounter almost like a, how do I say it, like a woman or a being or a couple of beings that manifested an experience with me. And basically that experience was, very interesting because it's like, it was almost like a magical sort of journey, right? And it was this, it was this almost like satyr fairy type being, right? Here's another one. My original experience in understanding life after death, when I had, it wasn't just an astral travel experience, it was an experience, shall we say, of going into what would be like a real physical place. So, why does that matter? Because I've had so many experiences that, it would feel more like the mental reality. But what is the mental reality? Well, the mental reality is when you're entering what's known as the astral plane. Within the astral plane, your thoughts have a tendency to become things. For example, your thoughts might turn you might find yourself, I want to be a knight in a castle. You can become one, right? And then you can share these experiences with others, but you can also find yourself in, shall we say, correspondence with beings that live naturally in those places. So what's going on is, that takes up a lot of my work, is exploring those types of realities, but trying to connect the dots. And connecting those dots basically leads me to making suppositions about the afterlife, and also cross-referencing near-death experiences, consciousness research, and even great mediums like Leslie Flint, who were major sources of inspiration, especially as I got to hear the early recordings of Leslie Flint, where a man named Oscar Wilde came through and spoke about his existence in the spirit reality. Now, here's the issue with all of that, and this is if you ever came from my old channel, this was a reoccurring theme, right? The reoccurring theme was, how do we have a lifestyle in a reality that's mental? How do beings or civilizations exist in a reality that's constructed by thought? And then what happens is that all over the internet, you hear things like, most recently, how do we say it? There was something that came up on the Afterlife Topics forum, whereupon, let's say, somebody was asking a question about something on a different forum, where people are wondering that when we die, how do we recognize people who pass? Because they don't have a physical form and they're just an energy signature, right? I'm like, where have I heard this before? Well, where I've heard that before was, let me think, there was a medium named, I don't know, Mark Antony. And at one time I was at one of his lectures, he was saying when we die, we become energy signatures or an electromagnetic field, and we are no longer who we once were. We are now a little electrical signal floating around. Well, this is pretty grim, it's like, is there more to reality than this? There has to be. So 2015 rolls through. What happens that year? Actually, no, this was 2000, right. 2014 that I had the experience, 2015 I wrote about it, which was, it's one of the highlights of my first book, which was when I found myself in a very, shall we say, physically solid environment, where I met a couple of spirit guides who told me all these feelings you have of insecurity concerning, is the afterlife just a big intangible mental dreamscape? You can take those feelings and insecurities, toss them out the window. Why? Because I was physically there. It wasn't just a typical out-of-body experience. It was me, and I was there, and I was in the bushes, and I was able to pick the dirt up off the ground, right? And there's this Hindi spirit guide, the man and wife were able to demonstrate that for me, right? Now, at the time, I didn't know this. I had a spirit guide watching over me. And this is a woman from a very, let's say, a magical universe. And she had the ability to take me out of my body into my spirit body, take my spirit body to the higher density world, and put me into an environment that's very beautiful, which was a higher density India, and manifest my spirit body back into a physical body to be in a different world, even if it only lasted a number of minutes. I didn't know this at the time, and I wouldn't know this until the time came when I could begin practicing consistent mental syncing and telepathy, which has led to the work you see now, which is speaking directly to Oscar Wilde, speaking directly to Emanuel Swedenborg, and a host of others, which they're going to keep rolling out, including the fairy realm. The fairies have jokes about the New Age beliefs. And what the fairies say is that they are, well, preposterous, because those New Age beliefs, shall we say, the New Age beliefs often evoke concepts into society that our souls begin and end on Earth, and we die, and we become a mental kind of, I don't know how to say it, an apparition of sorts, or we've left behind the world of matter, which is very strange because the spirit beings I speak to say no such thing, because everything is a gradient of the same existence, and the mental reality manifests into the physical reality, and has always been that way since creation. When was creation? An actual age ago, when all that is in existence came into being. And time travel allows, on the spirit reality's perspective, to recognize that creation moment is an ongoing process that has happened eons beyond imagination ago, and at the same point it's also happening currently right now. So it's like time is like woo, and higher beings understand these things and consider Earth to be a world of great distress and confusion. So the great mistake that I made is I was conflating the astral plane with the higher density reality, which is what the afterlife is. The afterlife, as it turns out, is not a mental reality. And when somebody dies and goes into a mental reality, or somebody, such as the folks at the Monroe Institute, exclusively explore mental realities, then what happens is when people exclusively explore mental realities, they are not connecting to an afterlife. What they're doing is connecting to the mental spectrum. And the mental spectrum is accessible by anyone, including us, and we can even begin using that to share dreams with each other. Do all kinds of, let's say, dream sharing abilities. So these dream sharing abilities, shall we say, sort of demonstrate the idea that the astral plane is interwoven into our physical reality. And it's almost like a tool, and that tool, shall we say, that tool is like, it's an embedded element of existence, right? So but that element of existence, which is the mental reality, is not where we go when we die. So when people go into a realm and they say, we've abandoned the realm of the flesh, and all of that was attached, and we must move up into the light, become one being again. Now, a lot of this turns out to be information coming from hollow heavens, as they're called, or fake, or not fake, but soul collectives of religions that put ideas out there that we must transcend who we are, annihilate our individuality, merge with oneness. Okay, I called out this stuff videos back called the false light teachings, but they're so pervasive that I got caught up in them because I couldn't see through them, because the majority of communications come from soul collectives that might adopt these types of ideas. So it's a big problem. So what's going on next is, it's really difficult to define what are these higher realities. So densities are defined as higher realities that is a physical cosmos, or even we could argue is our physical cosmos, but we are divergent between universes. Like there's our universe and their universe, and what's separating it? Oh, the veil. So the veil separates it. In that higher cosmos is a fantastic reality that, can be so fantastic. And I think it is a sip of coffee. That's my mouth getting dry. It's also 3:15 in the morning. Can be so fantastic, it's almost hard to believe. But these realities also encompass a subject called magic, which we don't see much of, because magic is often dismissed a little bit and put into this camp, not in the realm of the afterlife. The realm of the afterlife is dominated by near-death experience researchers and experiencers. It's dominated by Anita Moorjani and Kenneth Ring and Melvin Morse and many others, and Jeffrey Long. Afterlife studies, my first area. And that's always been my area of consciousness research. So, as I was saying, the area of consciousness research really has a difficult time, let's just say, getting its SHIT together. Because my experiences in a higher reality India, my experiences in having mental telepathic communications, even before everything really got wild last year, demonstrate that these are living, breathing worlds. So it's not someone just created a fictitious environment populated with tulpas thought forms. No. These are real worlds, sometimes populated by deceased people from here, and it's flesh and blood, but it's magical. What does that mean? Our world is not so magical. Well, it is, but it's all the power of Gaia is contained within and stuck in a non-magic, low-density universe. What is magic? Magic is the feeling I get every time I manifest into their reality, and suddenly I am feeling all the power flow through me. I'm feeling like the trees, I'm feeling this, all of it. I'm sensing like everything on such an amazing level. Like it's almost like you're a kid again, but it's not. And it's almost like you can't really put it into words, because it's that amazing when you are in the higher density. So you're not just walking around going to the woods. Wherever you appear, you feel the entire magic of the whole environment wash over you. So it becomes what's called a mystical spiritual experience to even be in the higher density for how long? Split second. No, not split second, I'm sorry. How long? A couple minutes. Just being there a couple minutes is all it takes. And you will not forget the experience. So imagine living in an environment like that compared to our world. We would call it heaven. But those worlds have governments, militaries, malls, institutions, houses, cars, and McDonald's. Of course, the girl working at McDonald's might be a 90-year-old grandmother who died in the hospital, came up there, age regressed, works at McDonald's, makes, works 20 hours a week and has enough money to buy a house. What would we call that? I think we call it heaven. But when we have manifestation experiences by our guides into, let's call it the higher density, which to us is like heaven, although they have their own issues, what happens is it's very difficult to distinguish what is a physical reality versus a mental reality. The truth is that you can totally mix them up like I used to do a lot, because it wasn't properly defined what is a physical reality, what is a mental reality. So that is the issue in my old books, because I'm talking about the astral earth. There is an astral earth. Never go there. It's not the afterlife. But many people do go there when they die, and they're caught in what the Buddhists call a bardo state. Do not go to the astral earth, and do not go to soul collectives or any spirit reality at all, especially ones where they believe they're in heaven. Where, you go to the Mormon heaven, the Catholic heaven, the Baptist heaven. These are fake realities built by people. And the light. People have experiences with the light, which is sometimes the light of divinity through holy power that flows in when we die. Then we are taken by perhaps our Arcturian, depending on how you pronounce it, friends, who's the higher density. Then the fake heaven emerges, becomes the light, beckons you into its warm embrace, and you join with your friends in heaven. It's a beautiful, luxurious experience, and you put the whole experience out as a near-death experience, and everybody reads it, and that experience would be a hollow heaven versus the other experience. And the hollow heaven is going to be a place that you must avoid at all costs, and they are the environments that teach false light ideas, because they're a bunch of religious people from the 1800s who died, built a reality for themselves where they teach lessons to people. The lessons that they teach is that their heaven is the one true heaven. They might teach that evil is a construct. We are just playing roles because they feel guilty about being crazy Puritan Quakers who are like burning, whatever, like going after people. I don't know, Salem, whatever. So the idea, like, there is no evil as a construct. Sometimes there will be a being there that they will manifest as God, and that being is usually the light, which is actually them manifesting a great divine presence, which they postulate is a light. So the whole thing is a sham, and that's where a lot of people go when they die, and they float around in a soul collective until they have to be rescued out and taken into the higher reality cosmos. Higher reality cosmos is already around us, and there's people from there who sneak into this world, splice themselves in, and have to hide from the collective consciousness. Because the collective consciousness can kick them in the rear if they would so much as blink wrong to reveal who they really are, because we live in a world that's very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. With a massively powerful collective consciousness structure that does not believe in, aliens, ghosts, spirits, and so forth. Or the supernatural, the paranormal. And they will attack. And I mean, a massive psychic energy will bombard anyone who even possibly reveals themselves a little bit about where they are. The truth is, many of our deceased loved ones are in the fifth density world, which actually, that earth, which I spoke of this as the second earth in my book, The Afterlife and Beyond. Turns out it really is a second earth in an entire cosmos that is, there's starships there. It's our earth, but it's on fire. And it's on fire. And that world, this actually has a name. That world's called Malbrega. Our world is called Gaia. That world is Malbrega. And there's a host of other higher density Earths in a cosmos where all the ETs come from. That includes the Ashtari, the Anshar, loads others. The Aldmari, Aldebarans, Lyrans. They're all up there. They're not in our universe, they're up there. Now I'm taking a sip of coffee. I'll wrap this up. So that was my mistake, is not putting those pieces together. So if you're watching this video, always resist the idea that our tiny short lifespans on Earth is all there is, and that when we die, we end up becoming an energy signature where no one can recognize us anymore. The afterlife is just a mental dream space, because there's no such thing as civilization as we know it in mental spaces. There's no nature, there's no evolution of a civilization. It's actually a mental reality, which is like a big shared lucid dream. Mental realities are the construct that, in a sense, is the yin and yang of creation. The mental, the physical manifested, and one is not better than the other, like every sage communicates about. So, many people are still in despair, thinking that's what the afterlife is like. It's not. So my first book was called Understanding Life After Death, but in fact, I did not understand life after death. I was still trying to make sense of the jigsaw puzzle and getting information from soul collectives that is all over the New Age community and represents, I would say, 80 to 90% of what you hear and listen to out there. And it's coming from fake hollow heavens that are extremely aggressive, have been known to attack people, and have been known to have to get them out of people's lives. Because you have a bunch of 1900s ancestors trying to psychically, energetically attack somebody because she's wearing a short skirt and they're calling her a harlot. That's the afterlife you might want to avoid. This is Cyrus. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for my upcoming book, The Cosmic Shift of Mankind. And once again, if you had ever donated to the Patreon, it's patreon.com/Afterlife Topics, and when I was out for 9 months, if I didn't get back to you and you donated something, you were expecting a reading, you're expecting whatever it might be, please email me at cosmicshiftawakening@gmail.com so we can get it squared away. Okay, thank you for understanding. Lord knows. Thank you. And I'll talk to you next time.